Hi, my people. Welcome to or welcome back to the Creative Weirdo Podcast. I'm Lizzie. If you're new here, welcome in. As I'm diving deeper and deeper into my creative journey here, because I really view my podcast as my art form in a way, and I would say I have, multiple art forms. I think we all do. I think we all sing. If you know, you know. But yeah, I really am super, super passionate about what I do here. And I take it very seriously, but I also approach it very unseriously, if that makes sense. And if you're not new here, you know that. You know that. I feel like you can catch the vibe a little bit. I like to sort of show the messiness of the process because I think that's kind of my purpose. Like, everyone has their own vibes. Like, if you listen to other podcasts and stuff, for example, like Jake Shane, his vibe is that he has unserious conversations with more familiar faces, like famous celebrities, things like that. So he's just having like fun conversations with them. And like everyone has their own vibe. And I feel like with me, the more I do this, the more I'm realizing that my vibe is showing the messiness in the process. I think that's what I'm meant to be doing. And while I'm doing that, I'm kind of giving people permission to do that themselves too, which I think is really cool. And I'm just grateful for this space. So just wanted to say that. So yeah, that brings me to the idea of acquiring your taste as not only an artist, but just as like a consumer in the world, as a person in general, because we all have our own individual specific taste. Okay. And I know the word taste is kind of like ambiguous, but by taste, I just mean like your own personal style. So to you, that could mean the way you express yourself through clothing, through accessorizing, the way that you post on social media, the way that what music you listen to, all those things, every single thing that you put outwardly into the world, express into the world, or consume yourself, I feel like have to do with your taste. Yeah, so our individual taste, I think, is being lost a lot, and it's being curated by the outside world because I think, to be honest, I really just think that we're all just exhausted with having to work to live. And, I don't know if that resonates with every single culture around the globe, but at least where I am in the US, I think a lot of you can resonate with that. And since we're so exhausted by the world, I think what we're doing is we're trying to look for our own personal taste and style in the most convenient places, in the fastest places we can find them, in the easiest places we can find them, just whatever is most convenient for us. And that's where the conversation of social media comes into play because, what's the most convenient thing that we can go to, the easiest, the fastest thing that we can go to figure out, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I don't like that. It's social media. You go on Instagram and you click on one person's page or you just scroll through your feed. That's not what it's called. What is that your feed? I don't know. I sound like a fucking boomer right now. But you scroll and you see things that you're like, ooh, I like that girl's outfit, or ooh, I don't like that person's outfit, or, I like the song that they put on this. I like the way that they posted this way and whatever. And you start to sort of first get inspiration from those people. But where it becomes a problem is when we actually are copying the way that people are expressing themselves in the world. Okay. And I don't think that that's always a bad thing, but I do think that when that is the driving action every single time to try to find yourself is by flat out copying the way that someone else is and puts out into the world. I don't know. I don't really resonate. Okay. I don't really resonate. And maybe this is just speaking to people that feel like they're being copied more often than not. But, it happens. And it's funny because that quote that says something about like imitation is the highest form of flattery? I've always felt the opposite when I've been copied because I think that when someone's copying you, it's hard to put into words, but we're going to break it down. So when you're someone who's so unapologetically themselves and you are just putting your most authentic self out there constantly, right? Like I just mentioned to you guys how I feel like my vibe is showing the messiness, just capturing the messiness of the world and how I live my life and the kind of footprints I leave in my life in a messy way, not in a curated way, not in a way where I'm trying to make it be aesthetic, but the aesthetic behind the things that I post is the fact that it is messy and it captures that. But when someone tries to copy your vibe, when that's what you're putting out, it feels like they got your message, they got your vibe, they like the little things that you're capturing, but then they'll try to do it in a way where they're like almost perfecting it, like they're trying to make it more perfect. And then number one, it just gives like inauthentic, not genuine. And then number two, it feels like a hit to the person that they're taking inspiration from. It doesn't feel like you're taking inspiration from what I'm doing. It feels like you're taking what I'm doing and you're legitimately just walking all over it and kind of like chewing it up and spitting it out in a way. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, we're going to get into it, okay? I'm going to keep yapping for 30 more minutes, so take a seat. But I don't want to sit here and demonize the act of copying because it's something that I do believe is kind of innate to human nature. I just think we've probably all copied someone, whether we know that we're doing it consciously or not. We've all copied people in one way or another, right? But I do think that there's a difference between taking inspiration and seeing yourself in others. Like, that's the difference, okay? Because you can look at someone and be like, oh my gosh, I love the way that she, styles her jewelry or accessories and whatever. You can take inspiration from that and use the jewelry that you already have. And, maybe the inspiration you took from that is like, oh, I can wear more jewelry. Like, I don't have to just wear 2 rings. I can wear a ring on every finger if I want to. Like, other people being themselves gives you permission for you to do the same. But you getting inspiration from someone else and that giving you permission to be more authentically yourself is not the same as you literally going to Amazon looking up the exact pair of earrings that they are wearing. You know what I mean? So a lot of people acquire their taste. At least this is what I've seen in today's day and age. And I think social media is one of the reasons why it's so apparent to me. A lot of people curate their taste by copying other people. And I think that's why, more often than not, especially on social media, you see people being carbon copies of others. You see everyone kind of looking the same. You often see more people giving off an inauthentic, ingenuine vibe than someone posting something that's like, oh my God, that seems like very new, very them, very just like ahead of the curve or out of line from where things are right now. And not out of line in a bad way, just in a like, oh, they're not like doing what everyone else is doing. They're doing their own thing kind of vibe. I don't know. But the truth of the matter is that building taste, number one, obviously, starts by you just figuring out who you actually are. Duh, obviously, and what resonates with you and what doesn't. But in order to figure out what resonates with you and what doesn't, you do have to consume other people's expressions of themselves and other people's art and other people's opinions and thoughts and ideas and all those things. But that's inspiration. That is you gathering inspiration and information, okay, about yourself and what resonates. But actually finding your taste and how you express yourself in the world has more to do with experimenting. It's you actually acting on those things. It's not you just being like, ooh, I like those earrings. It's you experimenting with what you find to be resonant to you in those earrings. What about it was so captivating to you? Is it the fact that those earrings are something larger than you would typically wear before? Is it the fact that they're gold and you're usually a silver person? Is it the fact that they're dangly earrings and you're usually a hoop girl? Like, I don't know why I'm using earrings as an example here, but I also feel like it just resonates with me because obviously I'm blinged out every time I leave the house, if you know me. So I don't know, it's just my vibe, take it or leave it. But I don't know, I think the issue with copying people's style to the point where like you're almost doing it consciously, like you see a woman walk down the street and you're like, and I'm using very like quote unquote feminine examples today just because like that's what I resonate with, but obviously take anything with a grain of salt. But like say you see a girly pop walk down the street and you then later that day are copying their outfit to a T in your closet, you know that you're consciously copying that person's outfit. So now what you're doing is you're actually putting yourself in competition with that person. And I wouldn't say that we're always doing that, but I think that when it comes down to like you're doing this consciously, we're kind of unconsciously putting ourselves in competition with these people because now we're like, oh, I need to be as cool as them. I want to be as cool as them, so I'm going to do this. I want to give the vibe that they're giving out to me, that I'm perceiving from them. So you're kind of putting yourself in competition with them in a way. And obviously, that might not resonate with every single person listening, but I've noticed that a lot, so I wanted to mention that. Because it kind of makes the person that you're copying from, like the person that you're gathering inspo from, it gives them kind of a bad taste in their mouth because they're like, oh, why does being myself come with a price? Why does being myself mean that like other people are now in competition with me? Like I'm not in competition with them. Why are they making this a coolness competition? You know, like what is that about? There's something to say about the coolness competition that's going on right now. Like, are y'all seeing it? Are y'all seeing it? Because I feel like it's very apparent on social media today. Like everyone's just competing to be cooler than the next person that they saw. And that's just not the point. It's not the point. Like, first of all, if being cool is the agenda, then you've got it all wrong. You shouldn't be living your life being like, I need to be the coolest person I can possibly be. Because that to me is rooted more in like, you want other people to perceive you as cool. The word that I've been gravitating towards lately is interesting. If I see something and I'm like, ooh, that's very interesting, that's usually an indication to me that it's sparking my interest in a way that I see myself in it in a way. I don't know. It's hard to kind of explain that one, but lately I'm just gravitated towards anything that I initially deem as interesting. So usually the things that are interesting are the things that are a little bit out there and a little bit weird. For example, okay, you stumble across a pair of shoes that have a bird embroidered into them, whatever, something like that. And it's just fucking weird. And you look at it and you're like, that is so interesting. I've never seen a pair of shoes with birds on them before. But it gets your wheels turning a little bit. It gets you being like, oh, do I actually think that's kind of cool? Like, is that interesting to me? Because I've never seen it before? Is it interesting to me because I resonate with it? Is it interesting to me because it goes against the grain so much to the point where I'm convincing myself I don't like it because it's not trendy, you know? And that gets me to the conversation of trends, okay? Sometimes your taste is going to be the opposite of what is cool right now. And I'll put quotes around cool because the fuck, obviously that's so subjective in some ways. But when I'm using the word cool as a generalization, what I really mean is trendy. Okay, like sometimes the things that you like, that you take inspiration from, that you think is cool, that you're expressing yourself in that way, whatever. Sometimes that's going to be the opposite of what's actually deemed as cool and trendy in the moment. Because to be honest, I feel like the people who are usually like running to what's going to make them seem cool to other people are the people that chase trends. And that's fine. If that's your vibe, that's your vibe. I'm never going to say that's wrong. But I do think that trend culture is the most heightened it's ever been right now. And I can't really say that because obviously I didn't fucking live before the 2000s. So I don't really know like what the vibe was in the 80s and 90s and before that. Like I only know what I've seen, on social media and stuff like that after the fact that those trends and stuff have taken place. But I don't think it was as amplified back then because social media wasn't a thing back then. Now that social media is a thing, trends are at an all-time high because we have more access to them. And we can literally go online right after we see a shirt that we like and we can find that shirt online, So it's just different. It's just different. But it's hard now in today's day and age, especially if you're someone who considers yourself to be a creative of some sort, like if you create art, if social media is a creative outlet to you, even whatever it is, it's hard because there's kind of this underlying fear of being copied. Even if it's the most unconscious fear ever, I think in some ways we kind of all have it to some degree because we know that it's a possibility. We know that people are out there to steal ideas because they don't know how to be themselves without doing that. And that sucks. But also, I'll always be the one to remind you that no one can replicate your energy. Okay. And that's what it comes down to when you're someone who's creating something of substance. What you're really putting out there is your energy into the world. You're showing someone that. And that's why sometimes it's polarizing to people and they don't fucking like it because it is a mirror to them, all of the shadow parts of themselves, all of the parts of them that they don't want to uncover. Sometimes you uncover that by being yourself, okay? And that's the hard truth of things. And sometimes that's why people don't like you, and that's okay. But when you really boil things down, it's almost like everything has already been done before. Okay. And I think that's a big reason why people don't follow through with their creative passions because they'll tell themselves, oh, it's already been done before. So what's the point? And I went through that a lot when I first started creating my podcast because in today's day and age, obviously, it feels like almost everyone has a podcast now. So I was clinging on to that limiting belief a lot in the beginning of my process. And I kept telling myself, like, everyone has a podcast now. So what the fuck is the point? The point is that you don't have one. The point is that it hasn't been done by you yet. So it really hasn't been done then because it hasn't been done in the way that you're going to do it. And adding on to that, I think that your taste reveals itself to you the moment that you realize that you would have done something differently than it was already done. So, going on the lines of starting a podcast, which if that's something that's actually interesting to you, please talk to me about it because I would fucking love to talk to you about that. But if you are consuming someone else's podcast and you're like, "Ooh, I really, really love this. The one thing I would do differently is this." Boom, boom. That's literally it. That's it. I think we overcomplicate honestly everything in life because we're humans and our brains are meant to be these thinking things that make us overthink and overcomplicate things. Like that's just what makes us human. But your biggest, most expansive creative ideas are usually the most simple things you can think of, the most simple ideas. And sometimes it takes you a lot longer to come to those conclusions. And then once you get to that simple conclusion, you're like, what the fuck? I could, like, why didn't I think about that all along? You know, but there's also beauty in the process leading up to that thought and all the things. But another thing I want to mention, and not to get all philosophic here, but the beauty that you see in others is inside of you. And I cling on to that quote with my fucking life. Honestly, that's probably my motto. If I had to choose one, it'd probably be that because it's just so fucking true. The beauty you see in everything else in the world is inside of you. It's a mirror. Everything in this life, every person that you meet is a mirror of you. You can only perceive the world how you perceive the world. You can't perceive the world how someone else perceives the world. So when you're perceiving something and you're seeing beauty in it, it's a direct reflection of the beauty you have inside of you. The way that you're able to recognize that in other people means that it's inside of you. So the things in the world that you find so deeply profound and so deeply poetic, the person sitting next to you, perceiving it through almost the exact same lens as you, might not take a single thing from it. And that's what's so powerful, you know, but that's also what makes it so hard sometimes to put your creative ideas out there is that a lot of people are just not going to get it. A lot of people are just not going to resonate with you. But that's also what's so cool about it is that the people that do resonate with you resonate so fucking deeply. Like they get it. They get it. And maybe not to the same degree that you do, but they're locked in and you are in alignment with those people, which is really cool. And that's what I love about what I do here. And I think that the way that you see and perceive and even talk about and describe the world around you are all these iterations of what your taste is. That's how you capture your taste, you know? And I think the second that you just kind of bring your awareness to it when it's happening is how you understand yourself deeper. Because I don't know if you guys resonate with this, but sometimes I'll go through these phases where I start to spiral a little bit because my taste is changing and I start to feel like I don't know myself that deeply. I'm like, wait, I like that. That's interesting to me. Then what does that say about me? Because that doesn't feel like it matches my vibe. Feels like it's kind of like not really what I usually go for, you know? And it just feels kind of out of place. And then we start to just curate our worlds, our inner worlds and our external worlds to fit this imaginary perception of who we deem ourselves to be, which creates stagnancy in our growth journeys. Like you're just stopping yourself from experiencing more and exploring, which, like I said before, experimenting with your taste, with your style, with the things that you resonate with and you don't resonate with is how you come to understand what your taste is. So if you have this imaginary perception of what you're supposed to be putting out into the world, and you're always working to correlate everything you're doing and everything you're putting out and expressing into the world with that imaginary perception you have in your head, then you're stopping yourself from being the most authentic version of you, which is the whole point of life. We're constantly, I mean, I guess it's one of the points of life. I always say our purpose is peace, but you cannot find a peaceful state if you're the thing that is getting in your way of being the most authentic version of yourself. You know, like you got to get the fuck out of your own way because no one's going to do that for you. And as I create more and more and more, and I cultivate versions of myself and I expand versions of myself and let go of versions of myself and all those things, I have started to realize that I've developed this sort of fear of permanency and this fear of being perceived as one specific version of me. And, you know, I've talked a lot about the fear of being perceived on this podcast. I even have an episode titled that. Like we've run that idea to the ground here, okay? So go back and listen to old episodes if that's really resonating with you. But obviously this episode also kind of is tailing those lines right now. But my fear of being perceived has kind of waned now that I've really put myself out there on the internet and I've made it very apparent to everyone in my life that I have a podcast and all those things. The fear of being perceived is less scary to me, but also when you're someone who has an artistic vision, and even if you don't consider yourself an artist, your artistic vision, in the words that I'm talking about it right now, your artistic vision can just be the way that you want to be perceived in the world, you know? So now instead of me being so scared of just being perceived at all, I'm more so afraid of being perceived outside of the light that I want to be perceived in, because I know and I've accepted that my vision is always changing. Okay, I'm not one static version of myself. I'm not, my style, the way that it is today, is set out to change tomorrow if I wake up feeling differently. And I know that about myself. And I'm always diving deeper into those versions of myself because I believe that I owe it to myself to explore different versions of myself, you know? But the hard thing about that is that as humans, the way that we perceive things is by putting them into boxes. The way that we perceive the world is by labeling it in some way or another. That's why language is a thing. That's why we give certain people the time of day and we don't give other people the time of day. Like, even if we don't consider ourselves to be judgmental people, we are always judging the world around us. We are, because we're thinking things. Like, we have these brains in our heads that make us do that, you know? So whether we want to or not, we're always being put into boxes. And if you're always so afraid of what the box is that you're being put into, then you're always kind of missing the point, because people are going to do that regardless. Even if you know what box you want to be put into, even if you know that you're not meant to be put into a box, you're still subject to that reality, unfortunately. Anywho, no one can copy you and do it better than you, because you are you. That's your superpower. That's what makes you unique. That's what sets you apart from the rest of the world. That's what sets you apart. Because obviously, like, in a way, we're inherently selfish beings because we only have our mind, our thoughts, our perception of the world. We don't have anyone else's, even if they describe it to us. So the world itself kind of gets put into this larger box to us where everything outside of us is the external, right? I'm getting a lot deeper than I thought I was going to get right now. But if you're following, you're following. So what I mean by that now is that, number one, you're kind of viewing yourself as it's you against the world. in a way, which makes everything feel super heavy, everything kind of feel competitive. It's always going to make you feel like you're behind in a lot of ways and like you're competing with the larger collective at stake. But also, the only way to win then is by being fully yourself, is by you making it your goal in life to uncover the deepest parts of yourself that make you who you are. And not so that you can label yourself as one thing, not so that you can perceive yourself through the lens of this one thing, but you actually accepting that you're always changing, but you know yourself to your core. You know your values, you know your morals, you know your heart. At the end of the day, you know your heart. And your mind is always going to come in and try to tell you who you are, but your heart already knows. Your heart already knows, okay? And I have a whole episode about your heart versus your mind because I like to look at those as two separate things that make us who we are in different ways. But your mind is kind of constantly telling you things that your heart can decide to take as fact or to disregard. But your heart always knows the answer and the truth. It's just about us uncovering that. So, all in all, people can copy you almost to a T, okay? But they will never do it better than you because they are not you. And you cannot replicate energy. And even if they try to, they're losing aura points by doing so, okay? Anyways, we've made it to the end of the episode. That was a really fun conversation. And I feel like it was just opening the door. Like I didn't get too deep today with what I was talking about, but it opened the door to talk more about how social media plays a factor in it, how, trends today have kind of perpetuated the cycle of conformity that we're seeing happening right now. All those things I think have always been an issue, but are now just becoming more apparent because we have more access to them. And yeah, I would love to talk to you guys more about that. So feel free to reach out to me, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet because we got the weird wrap up. Okay. This is a new segment that I've started here on this podcast. And it really has no rules because y'all know me. I don't like rules. I don't like boxes. I don't like labels. I don't like that. So we just have fun in the weird wrap up. And that's kind of the point of it. It's like it's meant to just be whatever I want it to be that day. So today, I actually want it to be tailored to what we were talking about. I just want to briefly talk about how you can use social media as a tool to cultivate your taste. Because, this episode might have felt like I'm just demonizing social media the whole time. And I know you can kind of see through the lines, and that's not my intentions. But I don't want to demonize social media because I also do think, like everything in the world, it comes down to how we manage it and how we exercise it. And if we are using social media for the wrong reasons, then it becomes the devil on our shoulder. But if we're using it as a tool, then it can actually be a really beautiful thing that can bring a lot into our lives. So, one way I really like to look at it, and this takes time, it takes trial and error, and it's something that I think it's like a muscle that you have to strengthen. But I like to use social media as a way of practicing being authentic because every single time that you post something on social media and make it public to anyone who follows you, to anyone in the world, if you're public, you are putting yourself in a really vulnerable place to be perceived by anyone in any light possible because people perceive you from where they are in their life and where their headspace is and how their day is going and all those things. So the way that people perceive you has honestly more to do with them than it does you. But the way that we have made social media out to be is that, the way that you're posting on social media is how you want to be perceived. And it's kind of a red herring because then you see people posting really exploitive things on social media. You see people posting really flamboyant things. You see people posting really sexual things even on social media. And it's like, okay, like you're putting that out there, but then you don't want to be sexualized necessarily. So then it's like, okay, but then what were your intentions behind it? Then listen, I'm not saying that that's how I think about it. I'm just saying that's, I think, a problem that we see in the world that we're living in today. And if you want to talk more about that, maybe I'll do a whole podcast episode about that. Who knows? But it's hard because social media doesn't give you the intentions behind things. It just gives you something to perceive. At the end of the day, it just gives you something to perceive. So it's hard to talk about because it's like the beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Like someone can take something from your social media post, someone will take nothing from it. Someone will hate it, someone will love it. Someone will have something to say about it and they'll send it to people. Someone will think it's the coolest fucking thing ever and they're scared to reach out to you and tell you that. Like there are so many levels to it. So many levels to perceiving things, but the point is not to drive yourself crazy with how people are going to perceive it. The point is to take a picture of something, and if your automatic reaction to it is, wow, this feels so me, this captures the beauty and the lens that I see things in the world, that's your hint to post it. Because I don't know about you, but I go through these phases where I'm like, okay, well, there's no point of posting on social media, period, then. Because when people say, oh, I post on social media for me, I don't post for other people. I've always had a hard time with that because isn't it more about other people if you're posting it out into the world? If it was truly solely for you, wouldn't it stay in your camera roll? But I do think that social media can be an art form, and the way that you put a post together and the caption that you put with it and the music that you put behind it, and if you edit your pictures or if you don't edit your pictures, if you post them landscape or horizontal, like all that stuff, I think creates sort of a vision, and that can be an art form for a lot of people. But there's such a blurry line between things when it comes to social media, and it can become toxic so fast because it was created for us to be addicted to it. So it's just a hard conversation, and there's really no right or wrong answers. There's no good or bad. It's just hard. But I do think that there's something really special about it because it does, if you want to look at it this way, it can be a way for you to practice being your most authentic self because it forces you to be okay with however you're going to be perceived. So every single story post I put on my Instagram, every single grid post I post on Instagram, like every single time I'm doing that, it's me practicing being myself and being okay with being myself and accepting that other people are not going to understand my vision behind it. They're just not. Because, like I said, you don't really know people's intentions behind posting. And that's why sometimes I'm like, oh my God, every single time I post, even if it's like, I love this post because I love it, it's like, okay, but I'm still posting it. So, like, do I want other people to see it? Is that why I'm posting it? But it's like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, I don't think that it's one way or the other. I think that it's obviously a little bit for other people in a way, even if that's not your intentions behind it, because you're still putting it out there. But I also think that if it's true to you, it's true to you at the end of the day. And the beauty that you saw to begin with is you posting it in a way also has to do with you capturing that and sharing it into the world and just expressing yourself. It's all about just expressing yourself at the end of the day. Like it really is when you dim it down to that. So, anyways, that's all I have. I feel like I'm just going on tangents now. So I'm going to stop there. But if you want to hear more about the social media side of things and just different things I maybe slightly breadcrumbed today and mentioned here and there, please just reach out and let me know because I really appreciate your feedback and I value it. And I just want to know what you want to hear more of, what you want to hear less of, what you're liking about the show, what you're not liking about the show, all the things. I don't take it to heart too much, I promise, but it's just, yeah, it's important to me. I care about you guys. So just let me know. Just let me know. If you feel called to leaving a rating or a review on this podcast, I would really appreciate that. Whatever you got the time for, I appreciate it and it helps the show grow. So, yeah, thank you for listening and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Mwah, kisses.